You might have seen people online posting about perfect prompt formulas or secret prompting cheat codes. Let's be clear, there is no magic formula. The research on this is pretty consistent. There is no single prompting method that always wins. What actually works is breaking down your task clearly and giving the tool the information it needs to do a good job. But that raises a fair question. When you're staring at a blank prompt box, how do you make sure you've covered everything? How do you know you've given Copilot enough to work with? That's where a framework can help. Not as a rigid formula, but as a simple mental checklist. A way to think through what Copilot needs before you hit enter. Remember that capable colleague from earlier? The one who has access to everything in your organization but needs a clear brief? If that colleague could ask you questions before starting a task, they might ask these 4 things. First, what do you need me to do? That's the goal. This is usually the part people get right naturally, like draft, summarize, analyze, compare, or extract. The verb, but be specific about it. Summarize and pull out the 3 biggest risks are very different tasks, even if they start from the same document. Next, they might ask, what's the situation? Who's going to see this? That's the context. This is the part a lot of people might skip. But think about it. A project update for your team stand-up is a completely different document than a project update for the CEO. It's the same goal with a completely different result. If you don't tell Copilot who it's for and what the situation is, it has to guess, and it'll probably default to something generic that isn't quite right for anyone. At this point, they might ask, where should I look? That's the source. This is the big one for Copilot, and it's what makes prompting here different from most other AI tools. If you handed your colleague a task, you'd point them at what they should reference. You'd give them the right files or documents to work with. That's exactly what the / reference does from earlier. When you point Copilot at a specific file, meeting, or email thread, you're no longer hoping it finds the right information from your entire workspace. You're handing it exactly what it needs. You've already got the skills to do this from the last chapter, and this is where it becomes really important. Finally, they might ask, what should the finished thing look like? That's the expectations. Think about format, tone, length, and structure. For example, you might say, keep it under 200 words, or use bullet points, or make it formal. Or you might even say, write it like an internal update, not something client-facing. Without this, Copilot has to guess what done looks like, and its guess might be a 3-page essay when you wanted a short email, or a formal report when you wanted a casual Slack message. You don't need all 4 of these every time. When's my next meeting doesn't need a framework. But for anything where quality is important, running through these 4 questions before you hit enter can make a real difference. To reiterate, it's not a formula that magically makes Copilot perform better. It's just a method to help you break down your task and help you put all of your requirements into a prompt. Now let's see this in action. Say you need to send a project update to leadership. You might type something like, give me an update on the Henderson project. That's not bad. Copilot will go looking for Henderson-related information and put something together, but it's doing a lot of guessing. Which documents to use, what to focus on, how detailed to be, and what tone to strike. Now let's apply our checklist. First, let's think about the goal. What do I need it to do? In this case, draft a project update email. Next is context. What's the situation? We'll say, for the leadership team, focus on what's changed since last month. Then we'll move on to our source. Where should it look? For this, we'll directly reference all the files we want Copilot to look at. Finally, expectations. What should it look like? We'll say, keep it concise, flag anything that needs a decision, and keep the tone direct. Now with the exact same tool, the same intelligence, and the same access to data, the output is significantly more useful because you told Copilot what you actually needed and pointed it at the right information. The more information you explicitly give Copilot, the less room you leave for assumptions, and the better the output will be. If you know which documents you want it to use, reference them directly rather than having it guess. If you know the tone and audience of your work, specify it. Now, go back to the prompt you wrote a few minutes ago and look at it against this framework. Did you include a clear goal? Did you give context about who it's for or why? Did you reference specific sources? And did you set expectations for what the output should look like? Try rewriting your prompt with the checklist in mind and see how the output changes.